Hello everyone, it's CDA94581 here, but you can call me CDA. Today, we will be exploring more of what add-ons have to offer, this time custom blocks. We will be using the 1.16.100 components, which have been around since a bit before Minecon Live 2020, which was around 8 months ago. As of recording will require holiday creative features to be enabled. These also have many features like permutations and block states, which I will cover in another video. I will also have a tutorial on custom blocks that do not require experimental gameplay settings. Before starting, I should also note that these custom blocks, as of filming this video, will not show up in the creative inventory. This might be changed in the future. Anyway, let's get started. As always, on screen are the timestamps you may jump to in case you want to skip around. Be sure to also watch the videos in the info cards to get more information as to what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how it works. In this tutorial, we will be making two custom blocks, both inspired by Minecon Live. One of them will teleport you when you stand on them, and another will break once you fall onto it from a certain height. Alright, so to get started, we need to create a behavior pack folder, and then a manifest.json file and a pack_icon.png file inside. Everything I am doing right now has been explained in a previous video, which I've linked in the info cards, and if you want to know what's going on, I recommend going and checking those out. Alright, so after you've done that, in your behavior pack, you want to create a folder called blocks. This is where all the blocks are going to go. Inside you can create as many folders as you want and files and stuff like that to help with organization. Even though we're only creating 2 blocks, I like to usually make a folder dedicated to the specific add-on. So I'm gonna do a folder inside with my namespace. Afterwards, you can create a .json file, and this can be named whatever you want, so just make sure it ends with .json, because that's the extension. Once you've done that, let's get the basic framework of the block ready. So first you need the left and right bracket as always, and then inside, format_version is a value that basically specifies what components are used, how it's formatted, all that. It changes whenever blocks are updated. They were last updated in 1.16.100, which are the components we're using, so we're gonna set that as our format_version value. Afterwards, create a Minecraft block object inside, and inside this we have 4 objects that we can create. Description, components, events, and an array known as permutations. I'm not going to be covering permutations in this tutorial, so we're going to get rid of this, but I will cover it in a separate tutorial. Inside the description object, there's obviously the identifier value, which basically tells your block apart from all other blocks in the world of Minecraft. So never use the Minecraft or Minecon identifier, as those are reserved for vanilla usage purposes. So we're gonna do our namespace here. And then over here is our identifier, so this is just an even more detailed identifier. So this is basically unique to you, the namespace, and then this is the individual identifier. Components and events basically are where everything about the block comes into play. So what happens if I right click on it? What happens if I step on you? What happens if a random tick chooses me or something like that? And then events can run certain things. Also, components might have stuff like, what's my collision blocks? Where can I click to pick block me? How do I want to rotate everything? Before we actually add anything into this, let's actually lay out a framework on what we want it to do. So here I'm creating the teleporter block, as we can see. So we want to, when stepping on this block, we want it to teleport me to a certain spot. Over here we have the documentation. This can also be found in your behavior pack vanilla. Over here, the blocks documentation. But anyway, I like to use bedrock.dev. It has a lot of handy stuff as well, and we can also revert to previous versions. This time we have way less components and stuff like that. But anyway, over here we have an entire list of components and everything, and we want to see what happens if we step on it. So over here are trigger components. These trigger an event. If we go over here, we find Minecraft on step on. So this can test for a condition, it can run an event, and a target, which I believe through my experience, self is currently the only target. But anyway, this sounds like on step on, so basically when I step on this block, it's gonna run an event. Over here is a bunch of event responses, and it seems like run command or teleport might be what we're looking at. So run command, we can run a slash command, which can either be a string or an array. And then teleport, it seems to randomly teleport it, so it sounds like something like how an Enderman randomly teleports. So I think we're actually gonna go for this teleport one just because we want to try that out. Alright, so when we go to write the code for all this, we need to add a component that we already found, which was Minecraft on underscore step underscore on. And this is an object, as the documentation said. Inside condition we actually do not need. This is a string, but it's basically a Moline query, so like query, I don't know, was I facing a certain direction or something, but we don't need to actually test that. We really only need to have the event, which I'll put my namespace on as a organization thing, and then we'll do teleport. There's also a target value, but I don't think we'll actually need that. If we go into events, then we create another object, which is the name of our event that we called. And over here we can set responses. We decided to use the teleport response. And this is an object which has a few values. Avoid underscore water, it's already gonna default to true. So we don't want them to teleport into the water, so we're gonna do that. Land on block also is true. So really the only thing we need to do is set destination and also max underscore range. This defaults to 000, which I would assume is right where the block is. And the max range would be defaults to 888, so I would assume this is either 8 blocks in every direction from the destination, because it says from the origin, which is what destination is. Or it would be 8 by 8 by 8 of like a cube centered on the destination. So we're actually gonna change this to maybe be like 5 blocks over here. So like 5 blocks up, 5 blocks in the positive Z and X axis. Max range, we're gonna maybe shrink this to 333, just random numbers that popped into my head. So I guess this is a time to just tell you all, remember to check your spelling. I was testing this earlier, I kept getting an error that said that it couldn't validate the block identifier, and I was confused. I tried different identifiers, I tried using like my morph one, it all didn't work, and then I realized I spelled identifier wrong. So just, again, make sure everything is spelled correctly, otherwise it won't work. So now we're ready to test this. It won't have any textures, our block, because we haven't given them any textures, but we can at least test the behavior side to make sure it works. So basically we just need to find the folder that this is in, and then we can send this to a compressed zip folder, right? We can name this whatever we want, and then just make sure that the file extension ends with .mc add-on. .mc pack also works right now because this is just a behavior pack, but later we're also going to add a resource pack onto this, so .mc add-on will be good for that. If it asks us that the file might become unusable, just click yes, and mc add-on is just a zip file that's renamed to mc add-on. So then you can double click to import this. So now we need to create a world to test our pack. We can name it whatever we want. Just make sure you know what it is, because we're gonna need to do more stuff with it later. Anyway, you can change these settings however you'd like, but they won't make any difference. The main thing we want is holiday creator features enabled, because currently blocks are still under experimental gameplay, so holiday creator features are required. For blocks specifically. There are other toggles for other things, but those will be used for other purposes. All this other stuff you can toggle again as you wish, and then make sure to go over to your behavior packs, find your block, and then apply the pack, and then create the world. When we load in again, the block won't have any textures, but you can type in /give and s for yourself, and then start typing your namespace identifier, and as you can see, we have the block up here. It has ugly text and it doesn't have a texture, but we'll change that later. Anyway, when we place this down, and then we set that when we step on it, it teleports us randomly, and that's what it did, so there we go. Everything's working perfectly. Alright, so at the current point in time, we don't need to do anything else with the behavior pack, but we will come back to it later. So for now, we can close these, and then we're going to head over to the resource side of things, which, again, create a resource pack folder, and also create a manifest.json and pack_icon.png file, which, again, I've covered in another video, so if you want to know more about that, be sure to go check those out. But anyway, I'm gonna just type this up again. Alright, so I'm also gonna add a dependencies array, which will basically, when this pack is applied, I'm gonna connect it to the behavior pack using its header UID and version, so that they'll automatically apply together. Once you finish that, you're now going to want to get the textures ready, so we're going to create a textures folder, and then inside we're going to create a blocks folder. This will basically, for organization's purposes, we know it's a block. Again, I like to use my namespace, so we're going to create another folder inside of that, and then I'm going to open this in the file explorer, and we're going to create a texture. This needs to be a power of 2 for best practices. I usually like to just copy and paste a previous texture, but I could use other tools already. Anyway, once you've done that, just create a texture. The resolution needs to be a power of 2, so 1x1, 2x2, 4x4, 8x8. Typically, most blocks are 16x16, so that's what I'm going to be doing. After you've had that completed, you now want to go back to the textures folder and create a file called terrain_texture.json. Inside this, set a resource_pack_name to something you like. I personally like to use my namespace, so we'll do that. And then you need a texture name, and this you need to set to atlas.terrain. This tells the game it's a terrain atlas, so it's a texture atlas of all the different blocks, basically. And then texture underscore data is an object. Inside, create another object. This, you can name whatever you want, but it's gonna be, you're gonna create multiple objects for each block, so I'm gonna use my namespace, and then underscore, and then my block name. And then create that as an object, set a textures value to textures slash, and then this file path, so textures slash blocks slash cda custom blocks, then teleporter block. Do not add the file extension afterwards, because we don't need that. After you've done that, we need to head back into the blocks folder, and we're gonna do Minecraft material underscore instances. So this is basically telling the game how to render. Previously, like, you can still do it. There's a blocks.json file that can do what we're doing basically, but this has a bit more power. So inside here, you can create objects of different names based, like, if you have a custom geometry, then you can add different bones. If you do star, that's everything. But you also have up, down, and side. We're gonna do star, so this will be on all 6 sides. Let's create an object called Minecraft unit underscore cube. This tells the game that this is a regular cube without any custom geometry. So then this is another object, texture, set that to this right here, whatever you set your object as. And then set render underscore method to either opaque alpha underscore test, blend. So opaque is what we're gonna do. That's basically like a regular solid block. Alpha test supports transparency. Blend supports translucency, so like it's partially see-through, like how stained glass panes look like or something. Before we can actually test the resource pack side to make sure the textures are loading, there's one thing we actually need to do. So because we are importing it, the game thinks it's a final behavior pack, so all that gets basically cached, and on this world that we created, nothing will save. Like, basically, none of the changes we made will apply. So what we actually need to do is we need to go into our settings and then head over to storage, put on multi-select, and then find that world we just created, so this. And then also find our behavior pack, because we never changed any of the data inside the manifest, really. So we need to remove this from it as well. Then click delete. So now we can apply it. We need to go back to the wherever this is, right? And then select these, all of them. So select both the resource and behavior pack. Send it to a zip file. And then we're gonna name it something, right? And then end it with a .mc add-on extension again. If this pops up, just click yes, it won't really affect anything, and then you can double click to import it. We need to create another test world. Again, don't really worry too much about these settings, they don't change anything. Again, make sure holiday creator features are enabled. Everything else doesn't really matter. And then since I added the dependencies, when you see I activate the behavior pack, right? The resource pack has automatically been activated. If I deactivate that, the behavior pack got deactivated. And since I added dependencies on the resource side as well, when I add this, the behavior pack also gets added. Now we can type the /div command again to us, and as we see, there is now a texture on this block. It still works as we expect, so that's always good. And our final step now for this block. is to get rid of this really ugly text. What we need to do now is go into our resource pack folder and create a text folder. Now inside these, we have many different languages we can use depending on whatever language you are. For those that have multiple languages, if you plan on distributing to others, make sure to create multiple files. So for instance, I'm using English United States, so en_us.lang is the file that we're gonna create. Now we can actually see this when we head into the vanilla pack, right? We know what we can do when we go into the text file here, and then we can go to language names.json, and then we see en_us, I have English US, en_gb, English UK, and because I'm using English, since it has two, I'm gonna actually copy this file later and rename it to en_gb, so that if others are going to download it. So again, these are all the languages that you see in Minecraft. Over here, we just, for each block that you have, the format is tile.namespace:identifier.name equals whatever you want to display. So this namespace, again, is the part before the colon, so it's unique to you. Again, we've explained this. And the identifier is after the colon, so that leave tile and .name as it is, and then this display, change it to whatever you want. Now again, before you test it again, be sure to delete everything that we created. So we need to multi-select. This time we need to do the world. We need to also have a resource pack and a behavior pack to get rid of. Now we can go back to this folder and then delete this old one. Send this to a zip file again, and then again rename it to a .mc add-on. And we can import this. Again, create the new world with holiday creator features, plus the pack, the behavior pack, and make sure the resource pack applies. Then we need to type in /give to give ourselves this, right? But this time, instead of this ugly text that we had, it now says teleporter block as we set. In this chat, it's a lot bit cleaner and nicer in general as well. So congratulations, you just finished a block. Now we can do our second block, which was the fallen block as we saw on Minecraft Live and stuff like that. So basically I'm going to do it the exact same way, except this time we're going to add the Minecraft on fall on trigger instead of the Minecraft on step on trigger. This also has a min_fall_distance, which I set to 10. You can set to however high you want before you must fall from it. And then in the events, there's a response called die, which basically, if not specified basically, as according to the documentation, kill target if target is self and this is run from a block, then destroy the block. So we're destroying the block as you fall from it. Alright, so again we can apply these packs and make sure that everything is working by going and making sure these are all applied. And then, since we've already tested our teleport block, now we just need to do our fall block. And as we see, we have this block. If I just jump on it regularly, that doesn't work. So if I pillar up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. If we fall on this, then we see that it breaks. So yeah. Anyway, that's that. And there's a few other things that I didn't cover in this video. For instance, block tags. Those can be used by different tools and stuff so that you could set different mine speeds based on a tag. To add it, it's basically an object. You start with tag and then colon, and then you create your tag name. It can be a namespace identifier as always. And then you close the key, and then it's just a object, so left and right bracket regularly. I didn't cover every component in this block tutorial, obviously, because there are way too many components, and I can't think of something for every single component to showcase. I will also have other tutorials in the future about like permutations, custom block models, general components guide for everything, and then we might also do something more detailed like rotating blocks or something like that. So if your JSON or your blocks don't work how you want, I have a few tips to help you throughout this. So first of all, make sure your JSON syntax is valid. If you're using something like VSCode, then it automatically has a JSON validator. You can also go and change the validation to JSON-C, which allows comments. Minecraft allows comments, but some formatters don't. You can also use something like jsonlint.com, which will help tell you whether or not your JSON is valid or not. It might also help you identify where it's not. It's a common mistake, don't feel embarrassed about it, I've done that many times. On common mistakes, make sure everything is spelled correctly. For example, as you saw earlier, I completely spelled identifier incorrectly and spelled it identifer, which obviously then the game didn't recognize that, so make sure, like, double check and make sure everything is spelled correctly. If it helps, take a break for a while, come back, you'll have fresh eyes, that way you can look at it from a better perspective. Tying into this, content logs. These are an amazing thing that Minecraft has. To access them, head over to your settings, and then the creator toggle. This could move or whatever in the future. But for now, creator, and then turn on the content log GUI and content log file. They'll be saved to a file. It'll change depending on what device you are, like the location. But for the most part, it'll be in the com.motion folder, and then there's a log folder. And then the GUI just tells you, like, while you're loading in, while it's trying to parse everything, some errors. Like, it caught my error when it couldn't identify the identifier, so like, it won't directly tell you, you spelled identifier wrong, but it can tell you, we don't recognize identifier. So then, finally, there's another handy website which I've talked about many times. It's called bedrock.dev. It has documentation. The documentation is from Mojang itself, so it could be inaccurate sometimes. But then they also have a wiki, which has many detailed guides. They have some troubleshooting information. They have many things, so definitely check out that website. And finally, if all this fails, just ask. I mean, you can ask in the comments. There's a Bedrock add-ons Reddit. There's like a Discord. Specifically, like, it's linked on bedrock.dev for that. And also, there's other places you could ask me, you could join my Discord and ask. There's other stuff as well. If you're able to set it up, definitely use development folders, like the development_research_pack and development_behavior_packs, because they actually, like, if you apply a pack, and that pack folder is in those folders, then it won't be saved to the world. So it makes it really easy to test. You can just change it, and everything can be basically updated instantly. So yeah, if you can set up a workspace on like VS Code or something, definitely do that. I'll definitely have information on that in the future. And finally, if you want to publish your pack, which I'm sure many of you probably do, again, you saw how we zipped the folder and then renamed it. That's basically what you want to do. You might want to also keep a standalone.zip file for those that are unable to import it directly, or you can provide information. Then be sure to upload it to a sharing website like, for instance, MCPDL, or there are other places like MCP Core, I think. And yeah. So anyway, thank you again for watching this video. That's basically all I have for today. I'm totally saying this out of order, but whatever. Anyway, if you enjoyed it, do everything and stuff like that. Again, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, that kind of stuff, just feel free to ask anywhere you can find me. There's a link to an entire list down in the description, so be sure to check that out. And anyway, again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.